Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Orange Juice, the Port Orange Police Department's podcast. Today I'm joined by Emma Sanders of the Domestic Abuse Council of Volusia County. Emma, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
So today I just kind of want to cover the topic of domestic violence and domestic abuse. Obviously, it's something that we as law enforcement see daily, and I'm sure it's, being as part of the Domestic Abuse Council, it's something that you guys work with so intimately. And I just wanted to kind of cover that topic with you and talk about the resources that you all offer to the community and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
So the first question I have for you is how many instances of domestic violence are recorded in Volusia County each year, but more specifically, how many instances do you guys see each year?
Absolutely. So the stats that I have right now are still for 2023. And in that year, there are 3,279 recorded arrests and offenses. That's not counting the ones that are not unrecorded. The recent stats that I have for our agency is I pulled some stats this morning from November 1st to November 5th, which is today, from 2024 to 2025. And we have served 623 survivors and their families. So out of those 623, 254 resided in our emergency shelter. Also, we have had 543 unmet requests for shelter. That means there were 543 people that qualified for shelter that we did not have simply the space to accommodate.
Wow, that's those are obviously big numbers. It's higher than anyone would want to see, especially in this area. Do you find that most people are seeking that emergency shelter, trying to escape right then and there? Do you find that most people are coming to you where they have a little more flexibility in what they need from you?
So we have a number of people that are looking for emergency shelter. Obviously, in the times that we're dealing with, that financial burden is significant. We also see that financial abuse is something that is significant in the homes. People that are abusers tend to control the assets and the resources, and they determine how those are distributed or whether they're distributed at all. We have seen survivors who have attempted to expand their own resources as far as jobs or schooling, and those have been sabotaged by their abusers. And so when we want to look at the dynamics of that coercive pattern control and behavior of the abusers. But we also, other than shelter, we also have those outreach services. So some people just are trying to navigate leaving in a way that they don't have to go into emergency shelter. So they might want those economic resources or that economic assistance in attaining those resources or those court advocacy issues. Or if someone has a DCF case as a result of domestic violence, as you know, when you go out to a home and there's children present, you have to make a call. And so a lot of times survivors are faced with having to deal with the child welfare system, which is DCF. So we do have a relationship with DCF that has us have two co-located DCF located child welfare advocates, so they assist them in those barriers to attain those cases. Also, a part of their job is to do case consultations with DCF to kind of help them to understand and increase those survivors' safety, because that person typically knows what they're doing to provide a safety plan in their home. So we want to refocus the attention on the batterer behavior versus what the victim is not doing, and then give her the resources to move forward in that way. And
so I heard you say that a lot of survivors of domestic violence or domestic abuse have a monetary issue where their abuser controls the finances and makes it so they physically can't leave. They have no money to go anywhere. They have no assets to go anywhere. In terms of financial assistance, do you all offer that? And if so, how would one go about getting that?
We have financial resources that can assist the survivor with deposits on rental places or utility deposits or relocating to, say, for instance, if I have a family support system that's in Maryland, I can help you get there as far as the transportation and the items that I need to get along the way. They can call our 24-hour hotline And that number, I'll keep saying it during the duration of this interview, it's 386-255-2102. And they can call that, let the hotline know, hey, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm looking for this resource. But other than that, we're an empowerment-based agency. And so a part of that financial assistance comes with an economic justice project. And so what that project does is, if those ladies are not working, we want to help to get them employed. We want, if they are trying to expand their financial resources, let's see what they qualify for. Let's get them back into a certification, because it's one thing to just simply outright pay for someone to get into a place. We don't want to do that if they cannot maintain it. So with the empowerment basis, I want to get you to a point where you understand financial literacy. I want you to understand financial abuse. And I want to get you to a place where you can maintain it, because if I pay for you to get a place and you don't have the resources to maintain it, you're going to bring back in that same partner to help you make ends meet. And so we don't want to do that outright. I do not want to pay for a survivor who is not working or does not have any income to get into a new place, because then you can't maintain it, and I do not want to set you up for failure.
Right. So in terms of, like you were saying, you want to get someone into a place that they're going to be able to maintain.
Absolutely.
Outside of the financial assistance, do you have people who will help them apply for jobs and look for jobs and find work so that they can maintain it on their own? Absolutely.
We have an economic justice project, and shout out to United Way. They help fund that project for us. And so what it is there's 6 weeks courses of financial literacy. We have community partners come in, like PNC Bank, and they do informational sessions. That advocate does mock interviews. They do resume building. We get donations of business attire so they can go and do their interviews so they're ready to present themselves in a professional way. There's also a microloan program that's through the National Network to End Domestic Violence. And the amount starts at $100, but it's not the financial part of it. It's the building credit. Some survivors we've seen have had their credit sabotaged, or they've had forced evictions in the past from up and relocating to be safe. And so that microloan, what it does, it creates a opportunity for someone to trust them with credit, and they're paying it back in $10 installments. And they can do it more than one time. And so if I do it this 10-month cycle, my credit score jumps 50 points. I do it in the next 10 months, I got 100 points that are boosted on my credit score, and it'll help me get some leverage there.
It's very interesting. I definitely never heard of the micro loan type of thing that you're talking about, which is obviously something that is super important, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, everything that we encounter in life, a lot of it's based on your credit score and your ability to borrow and your ability to pay back. So I think that microloan system that is offered is obviously super helpful to people who might have a hard time getting into their own place. So outside of the financial services, the job services, and the emergency shelter services, what are some other super important key points that you guys offer or could give to someone or offer someone to help them get to that better place?
Absolutely. So when survivor comes to our agency, there's an intake process. So they're being assessed for services and then helping them to create an individualized safety and service plan. And so it is important that each one's service plan is catered to their individual needs. And so if I have this issue, I have a pending criminal case, I have a court advocate that can help you go to court, show that some emotional support, also to help walk you through those steps, because a lot of people are retreating because they're unsure of the court system. If I press charges on my abuser, I might drop those charges because I'm unsure. I don't have that support. I don't know what's coming next. And so those advocates walk them through that process. We have advocates who help with those IFP injunctions. We do have an IFP attorney that has just joined our team, waiting on her to smooth out all the legalities that is required for someone practicing law. But those advocates will sit there, fill out those applications with them, take them to the clerk of courts. We have a relocation assistance program. When we talked a little bit about this, with helping them relocate to another safe place, but that also means that there's victims compensation through the Office of Attorney General. And with us being the certified center, we are licensed to do that, their application. And so what that means is that if someone has a police report where it's been deemed domestic violence, they're entitled to $1,500 from the Office of Attorney General, but they have to be working with the state attorney's office and pursuing charges. So that's their requirements. We do have assistance, like I said before, that can help people with residential. That's not attached to that because we know that everyone does not report. So we have peer counseling, support groups. There is also a kitchen program that we have, and we're the only certified center that has one. We have Miss Susan, who is our kitchen coordinator,
Very cool.
and she prepares meals. She also opens the door for people to prepare their own. But it's really nice to come in like, okay, I've had this long day. I've just started this job. I just got these kids from school, and then I don't have to cook. But she does repurpose meals, and she teaches survivors how to repurpose meals as well.
Very nice.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. So there's safety planning. So someone doesn't have to reside in shelter to receive services. So there's a separation between outreach and emergency shelter. But if someone is just looking for a safety plan, and this is really important, because everyone's safety plan is not a blanket statement. It has to be catered to who that person is, what are their circumstances, who their abuser is. And they can sit down with an advocate and create a safety plan and how they want to move forward in escaping, because most people think that someone should flee automatically, and that's not often the case or the safest. Lethality increases by 500% once someone leaves, so we have to be careful around safety planning to leave a situation.
That's, obviously super important. Like you're saying, each safety plan is catered to that person. Because not every person's situation is the same. We see a lot in law enforcement, kind of what you were talking about, where that is the question that people's family members will have for them is, why don't you just leave? Well, it's not always that easy. They might have children in common that they're afraid they're going to lose, or that the abuser is going to try and take from them. In terms of women with children or survivors with children, what do you offer to kind of help in terms of like, hey, I have this job, but what I can't afford the daycare for my children?
So we do have a relationship with Early Learning Coalition. And so when a survivor comes into shelter, through their assessment and their initial service plan, they're assessed if child care is the need. What is the barrier? So anytime that we're meeting with them, we want to see what the barriers are and help them find solutions and make informed decision making. And so with the ELC partnership, it allows us to do a voucher. So once we do that voucher, they have 60 days of that child care. And then we also have the authority to extend that voucher or extend that voucher referral for services. And that helps them to kind of get past that bump, because childcare is a major thing. I know we work with the local schools and utilize the McKinley-Vento Act, where, providing those resources to homeless individuals that are in school, because there are definitely services that are needed for homeless individuals.
Right.
Whether they're in shelter or not, they're still deemed homeless. And so we want to make sure that each school is making sure that adhering to that act. As far as the child care piece, we do have a Hugs and Loves Children's Program. And so that is with the advocates. They meet with the children as well. They do safety plans with the children as well. The children get their own safety assessment. We want to increase those children's safety awareness. And even if they have to create a plan for, like, if something happens, because we know it takes survivors sometimes 7 times, statistically. And that's not everybody's case, but we do have frequent flyers where someone who has been in shelter before and has come back again. The idea is to enhance their awareness and their resources. So a question that I would have is that, what was done to get you to come back this time? And so then we safety plan around that and build that person up, that over time they have the resources, they have the confidence, because we know that someone might not be ready. When they call you, a lot of times they didn't want that person to go to jail. They just wanted the abuse to stop.
Right.
And so, like, with us, outside looking in, we're trying to understand what those dynamics are. Why don't you do this? But if I'm attached to this person, there's so many investments there and years there, and I'm coming in and I'm seeing that black and white and not the gray. And this is what we assess: the gray, the patterns of behavior, the dynamics, the history.
Right.
And then giving them opportunities to make informed decision makings about themselves and their future. And you want to build people up and empower them, because domestic violence in itself is about power and control. The violence in itself is just one of the tools that is used to gain and maintain power and control. And that is what most people don't see. Like, we only see the statute definition. It's the batter, that sexual violence.
Right.
But
right.
It's the tools that are used to gain power and control, whether it's the manipulation, whether it's the sexual batter, whether it's the financial, whether it's the forced. A lot of people don't even see the forced pregnancies or the forced sexually transmitted diseases that survivors often get,
right.
because they have someone who wants to keep them dependent. So if you're pregnant and you can't work, and I have 6 kids now, And no contraceptives have been used, but it was by design because now I have more power over you because I'm keeping you barefoot and pregnant. So when people talk about why doesn't a person leave, there's so many reasons, and the dynamics are so complex. We have to peel back those layers because sometimes survivors don't even know where to begin. They just know that the whole thing has been minimized under the eyes of that abuser, or they've been made to question their own reality. And someone has given them a sense of learned hopelessness to be dependent or isolated them from family and friends and support systems. So we want to see what is that about? What are those dynamics so that we give you tools to fight back with?
Right. Yeah, that's obviously that's super important, right? It's like there's so many layers to abuse that people don't realize outside of physical. And I heard you earlier touch on victims advocates. So the Port Orange Police Department, we employ victims advocates,
Absolutely.
as do many in this area. How closely do you work with police departments, victims advocates, to get these people the resources they need?
Absolutely. So you guys have Odetta and Julie Fletcher. And so we receive referrals from them all the time. And just as the other victims advocates for the police departments and the sheriff's office, we all have that working relationship where we receive those external referrals. They will call me often. If something's not happening fast enough, they will call me and it will get it done. But we do work closely with all of them. Honestly, I am missing a victims advocate services coalition meeting today to be here. But so you ladies, I'll be at the next one. But we do work closely together. And I think as far as community support, they have been super helpful because they see who we don't see.
Right.
So what people don't understand, with us being the certified agency, we see a large number of people. Like I said, we served 623 last year. And so, but there's other people that are serving the same amount of, not the same, but survivors as well who haven't even come into our services.
Right.
And so I implore to our victims advocates to utilize us as well, because the services that you guys don't have that we do have, and with us being a certified center, we have certain privileges that some other advocates don't have. And so we can waive privilege. I have the same privilege as an attorney and a client or a medical professional. I can't testify against anything that they told me, and I have the right to waive that because I have privilege through my certification.
Right.
And so for someone that might need some things to be confidential and not disclosed, they might be better served at our center versus someone who is bound by the department or the state attorney's office because they work for the state attorney's office.
Right.
And so we have a partnership with those victims advocates as well. And we do receive a lot of external referrals from the victims advocates, from state attorney's office and the PDs. We get external referrals from the social service agencies. We get referrals from law enforcement. Law enforcement sometimes will pop up to our gate or just call our hotline. And I feel grateful that they know to do that. And then sometimes there's self-referrals. There might be someone at Halifax, the social services, and they give them our number. But we're grateful for those referrals, but we also know that there's a dire need of people who don't even know about us, and we're right here in Volusia County. It's disheartening to see people not know what resources are right here in the community. And so even as someone who does outreach and prevention, I'm always looking for who I can connect with, because there's so many people, of the people that know us and follow us,
Right.
There's so many that don't, and sometimes it's often too late.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know that our victims advocates, they do so much behind the scenes that we don't even see. They're fielding calls early in the morning, because quite often when we go to these incidents of domestic abuse or domestic violence, it's not during business hours.
Right.
It's not during working hours. And a big thing that I want to touch on is the emergency hotline that you have to offer. If we go to a call at 2 a.m. and this victim or survivor decides they want to make the change and they want to call you guys, can they call that emergency hotline
Absolutely.
at 2 a.m?
That number is 24/7, and they can call at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, that number is 386-255-2102. And the great thing about that hotline compared to others is that it's someone that's a local advocate. They're here in Daytona. They're a whole body, not a televised prompter. And that person has received training to be on that hotline. The thing, you can call that hotline not just looking for emergency shelter. If you just want a safety plan on that hotline, if you want to build up your confidence on that hotline, you can call that hotline. If you're just looking for a resource, because we do double as an information referral, like some people will call us and we've got numbers, people thinking we're the clerk of courts, and like, oh, that's not us, but I have a number for you. So I'm not going to just say that I'm not the clerk of courts. I'm going to give you that contact. Right. Super grateful for that hotline. And honestly, there will be an opportunity in the future, very near future, to have volunteer hotline people that are taking those hotlines for us to kind of free up the hands of our staff, because we're a multi juggling agency. You will have someone working multiple positions, and I don't care what your job title is. It's the need that's more important in the mission.
Right. Very, very nice. Very cool. I guess kind of one of the last things I wanted to cover with you would be, what steps should someone take? What would be a good first step to take if they are in a domestic violence or domestic abuse situation to kind of get out of that?
The first step to take is to get connected with an advocate to make a safety plan. Because if we prematurely try to flee a situation without a plan in place, it can end up poorly. There is no absolutes. I can't say that there's any absolutes, but it does increase your chances. Like, say, for instance, if I prematurely leave and then something happens where, I can't support myself or this, I run back. And so sometimes you have a survivor that will flee a situation, they run back and it gets worse, or the violence escalates because they're being punished for leaving in the first place. So you have family members who are like, oh, you need to leave, and I grab you, but then circumstances change. You never know what's going to happen. And then they have to go back into that situation in that home, and it's 10 times as worse, and their lethality has increased. And I will say, because I know we talked about the hotlines, there were 1,647 hotlines last year, from November to this year. Wow. So that was how many calls that were recorded on our hotline. And for our shelter stays, there was 16,667 nights in shelter from November 1st of 2024 to 2025. And so I know I talked about the unmet request for shelter. And so we have a solution for that. Our bed space was originally around 50 right now with the space that we're utilizing, but we have been on a renovation for quite a while. And I'm so pleased to say that by the second week of November, that renovation should be complete. So that will increase our bed space to potentially 90 beds.
So almost doubling.
Almost double. Wow. And so that's something that we've been working on. We're a nonprofit, so funding, we had to wait on that opportunity. And when that opportunity came, we took it. And so our shelter has slowly became the image. It's slowly becoming the image that we want it to be. And those bathrooms are better than bathrooms at my house. I love the vanities. I'm super excited that we have this space to offer. And one thing I will want survivors to understand, that it is not like what's on television. You will not be you and your family will not be in this open room with cots. Every family comes in, they have their own room with their children. They have their own bathroom and tub. So they're not sharing showers with strangers. There are communal showers for singles, and we have about 3 of them now with the renovations, but each family has their own room. They have their own shower and their own privacy. And so we are striving for a serene environment where you can heal, but also be empowered. So it is not what you see on TV. Talk to someone and see what the opportunities are, because it could be a culture shock just from leaving home, but the shelter environment itself is not at all what you would expect. We are trauma informed, so we do approach it in that angle. And I want to give a shout out to Lowe's while I'm on the air. Lowe's Port Orange, Ormond, and Deltona, they came out and did a huge service project for us. They remulched our playground, our residential entrances. They built a gazebo for us, donated new patio furniture, put up tarps. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure they're getting the love that they showed us. They repainted our parking space. They put a new basketball goal up. It's incredible. And so I'm super proud of our building and where we're going as an agency. It has been a long time coming.
Very good. Emma, thank you so much for coming and taking time out of your day to come talk to us today. Just one more time, what was that emergency outreach phone number?
That number is 386-255-2102, available 24/7 every single day.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
Clear.